Roller coaster ride on today's show, including, I hope we get to it, the Trump tax cuts. There's more, I hope so. Yeah, there's more information out about that, and even for Trump, even for the Republicans, it's a little stunning. And some of the stats are amazing, and I want to share that with you guys and have you guys share it with people you know to give you a sense of what Trump's all about.
The numbers sound impossible.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to tell you guys about one more thing before we just jump right in, which is Game of Thrones is coming. Winter is coming. So what we're going to do, it's one of our more popular things that we do on the TYT network. We do it on What the Flick. We do reviews of it. So this year we're back to doing reviews live. So we will be watching the episode with you guys. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. It starts this Sunday. And so we'll watch the show together. You'll be watching at home. We'll be watching here. We can't show you the screen, obviously, but you'll see our reaction. In the famous Oberyn versus the Mountain, that was a bit of a legendary reaction. And then we're going to review it right after the show. We will have to take a quick break to reset up for the review. So basically, at 9:11 p.m. Eastern Sunday night. Now, normally you'd be able to watch that live on both Facebook.com/WhatTheFlick, and you will this time too, and YouTube.com/WhatTheFlickShow. But for the first one, on the 17th, we are going to put it live on the main channel, YouTube.com/TYT. Okay? So everybody check that out. It is going to be bananas. And all of our rowdy friends here, some of the top hosts of the network, all participating in the Game of Thrones reviews, which starts this Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. Not only is it going to be awesome and much anticipated, it's been far too long since last season, but I think especially with what's happened since the last season in our country, we need it.
We need Game of Thrones.
We need you, Jon Snow.
Although you know nothing. Maybe Jon Snow, the original Donald Trump. He knows nothing.
Maybe.
Jon Snow keeps going around. Nobody knew the wildlings were this complicated. All right, let's do it, John.
Okay, let's jump into some policy. The battle to destroy the Affordable Care Act is about to begin again. Senate Republicans had their recess. They are now back, and it's expected that by tomorrow we will have the new version of the Senate health care bill with new concessions designed to try to get it to the 50 votes they need to eventually have the vice president to break the tie and have it become law, thereby repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act. So we have McConnell predicting sort of the timeline. You're going to see that in this clip right here.
The news of the day is that, as I think you already know, we'll be on healthcare next week. We'll be laying out a revised version of the repeal and replace effort. The text of that on Thursday morning. We hope to have a CBO score by the beginning of the week and a motion to proceed to that bill next week. We're going to do healthcare next week. And in the reconciliation process, of course, you get to the end. It can sometimes be as a result of exhaustion, but you can get to an end.
They're so exhausted they actually have to work for a little bit longer than expected.
Yeah.
They were planning to come back from the 4th of July vacation, which you're thinking 4th of July vacation. Yeah, theirs is way, way longer than ours.
Yeah.
So they're just next week going to come back from it. And then they were going to go right back, or they came back to it, I think, recently. But it was over a week long. And now they're going to go, we're planning to go on another 5 to 6 week vacation.
Jeez.
But now they might have to come back and roll up their sleeves.
Yeah.
Work a whole 3 or 4 months of the year. Anyway, so a little bit of credit to them. If these plans go into effect, they are going to put some of the tax cuts back, meaning they were going to do these giant tax cuts, and now at least some of them are going to go back in for revenue. That's 3.8% tax on investment income that was in Obamacare might remain to get some of those voters, and a 0.9% Medicare payroll tax on wages and self-employment income might also stay in, so that there's actually some revenue in this bill.
Yeah. So let's break down some of the details. The concessions, as Jenk said, include keeping in place some of the taxes, providing more revenue, especially money going to particular states. Not mentioned there, but it's believed that at least one of the versions that we'll see will include more money to help deal with opioid epidemic across America. There's a rumor that it could go from $2 billion in this fund to $48 billion, which again is not as much as is expected to actually deal with the problem, but it's significantly more funding and could theoretically get them a vote, possibly. But it is expected that there will be at least 2 draft bills, one that includes an amendment sponsored by Ted Cruz and Mike Lee to allow insurance companies to sell plans that do not comply with federal regulatory requirements. So what's interesting there is that there could be 2 different plans which have more than that one difference between them. So we will have to break down and analyze both of them. But this looks like a way to get Lee and Cruz to sign on. And their idea basically increases freedom across America by making it so that there will be at least one plan by an insurance carrier that actually provides coverage. And then there will be a bunch of other garbage plans of the sort that we had before the ACA that you will still have to pay for, but will not actually help you in the event of a major life emergency. And that is what they need to sign on, Lee and Cruz, and it's expected that that's one of the things that might actually be there.
So when you have those different plans, the reason why it's a joke is that they say, no, one will follow the requirements that currently exist, including covering pre-existing conditions, and others don't have to. Well, if you set it up that way, the one that covers pre-existing conditions will be more expensive because it'll include people who have pre-existing conditions who you know are going to get sick to some degree, right? And if you sign up for the version of the one that does, that covers mainly healthy people and young people, well, that one's going to be cheaper. But what's that going to create? It's going to create all the healthy and young people going to that plan, thereby leaving the one that covers the pre-existing conditions to be super expensive.
It creates a de facto high-risk pool.
Yeah, and
out of the current plans, basically.
And so the more expensive it gets, the harder it's going to be for people to afford that plan and for the government to be able to afford the subsidies for that plan. So that creates what they call a death spiral, which then creates a literal death spiral for people with pre-existing conditions. So, but for Cruz and his allies, it's a win-win. Well, one, they do the Republican plan, which is if you're already in good shape, we'll give you more. Okay, things will be even better for you, right? Oh, God help you if you've got any kind of condition. You had a setback in your life, we are going to crack your back, and we're going to be done with you.
Yeah.
And so every man for himself. If you're already well off, great. If you're not, you're in a world of trouble. The second advantage is they then turn around, and when the plan with the pre-existing conditions that was originally modeled on Obamacare starts its death spiral, then Cruz will turn around and go, you see that? We told you Obamacare was never going to work. We left the main part of it intact, but other people wanted the other insurance. So now the one that actually covers people, it's unaffordable. We told you Obamacare was terrible. So then they kill it entirely, and then if you've got a pre-existing condition, God help you, because he's the only one left.
And that's just the latest act of sabotage. Over the past 8 years, under Obama, there were multiple ways that they effectively sabotage the future of the ACA. It's not in the bad shape that they imply that it is. The CBO report made that clear, but it did make it more difficult to keep prices down and things like that. Now, some people just a few days ago, including John McCain, were saying that the bill is effectively dead, and they were so sure that it's definitely not going to pass. I think that is crazy to get presumptuous about that. But it is still going to be a challenge for McConnell to come up with one bill that is going to satisfy all the different concerns that these various Republican senators have. We want to show you a couple of little comparisons of particular issues of people on different sides of the issue to give you an idea of how complicated it might be. We're going to bring up this first one. We're going to the first one. So in terms of how much regulation there should be on plans, in terms of pre-existing conditions, things like that, you have people who want to take away those regulations. And there you're seeing on the left Mike Lee and Ted Cruz particularly want to have all these plans that don't protect, the essential healthcare benefits and have the caps and don't allow for those with pre-existing conditions. But then you have people, who won't vote for a bill that don't have those protections. Moving on to the next one. You're going to see Medicaid funding. Obviously, the bill, as we previewed, has hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts to Medicaid. And there you're seeing the people who want an expansion of Medicaid or a maintenance of what they already have. their concerns. That's quite a few senators there. And then the final one, you're going to see some differences on the government spending and tax credits. And, there's other names that you could add in there as well. I mean, Ted Cruz is complaining about the amount that's still going to be there for subsidies. And so these are pretty big issues for McConnell and the Republicans to push through, but hardly impossible, especially if they can theoretically generate a few $100 billion of government funds to toss into whatever they need to buy people off.
So the people who kept saying, "Oh, they can't, it's impossible, it's dead. Republicans won't be able to put this bill together." My main response to is, "Come on,
about the House version.
Come on! How many times do we have to go through this before you learn?" So this is a particular dance that they go through. So when the bill is first introduced, you have the most conservative guys in the Senate, Cruz, etc., that come out and go, "Oh, no, I can't! This is outrageous. I need a lot more concessions." And then you'll have a couple of moderates who will say, "No, I can't sign on. I need some concessions too." Sometimes they'll mean it and sometimes they won't. So then everybody will go, "Oh my God, Wheezy, take me now." It's not Wheezy. Anyway, so we're never going to get this done. It's the Sanford and Son reference with the wrong name. Anyway, we're never going to get this done, right? And then, lo and behold, they get together, and after the haggling, conservatives will get more than what the moderates get most of the time. In this case, the tea leaves seem like maybe the moderates are going to, quote-unquote, moderate Republicans such as they are, will get a little bit more than the conservatives, but we'll see. Yeah. But at the end of the day, do they want to kill Obamacare? Yes. Do their donors want it killed so that they can mainly get their tax cuts back? The majority of the tax cuts would be returned to them, right? Yes. So they will do as their donors command them. And so, I kind of hate the soap opera of it. Yeah. So please spare me all the things about, it can't, it will, oh my God. As if they have honest, principles, and they're trying to negotiate over principles. Well, no, their donors are negotiating, and overall, they're all going to make hundreds of billions of dollars by repealing Obamacare. So very, very, very likely they will.
Look, maybe you're right about the Senate. I think it's all a big sham because Trump already said he won't vote for a bill that doesn't have heart, and everybody needs to be covered. So, all this Senate stuff, what are we wasting our time for? Now look, the CBO is going to get both versions of the bill. And what I think is a little bit scary is that, so you alluded to some of the tax cuts. They might theoretically keep a few of the smaller ones in. Others, they might keep them for a few years. And what that seems designed to do is to effectively trick people with the CBO estimate. Because the CBO estimate will now have 5 years of the taxes still being there. So that'll change the numbers quite a bit, make it look better financially. But those tax cuts will still go, or the taxes will still go away eventually. We're simply postponing the horrific outcome that we saw in the earlier version of the CBO report. But it might fool some people in the mainstream media and some Trump supporters into supporting this bill. This bill, again, the least popular piece of legislation for something like 3 decades.
Yep.
Can we show one thing just for 1 second? Just because JR cut this, and I think it's just amazing. It's about the August recess. We talked about it earlier, but look at what Mitch McConnell says here.
Also, due to this unprecedented level of obstruction that we've been experiencing, for example, you may have noticed we had to get cloture yesterday on a district judge in Idaho. I think as of June 28th, there were 178 presidential nominations up here and only 46 confirmed. Therefore, we will be in session the first 2 weeks of August. We had originally anticipated not being here. We will be here as a result of all this obstructionism. Don't have enough time to address all of these issues between now and the originally anticipated August recess.
Can you imagine, Cenk, how frustrated you must be as Mitch McConnell when those bastard Democrats obstruct and stop you from getting an important position on a court, like a district judge in Idaho, and not being able to get the judge that you're owed? Can you imagine the obstruction that it's delayed? You eventually get it, but it's delayed. What could be worse?
Maybe if you broke the record on obstruction, as Mitch McConnell did with his filibusters during the Obama administration, and maybe if you blocked a Supreme Court justice rather than one in Idaho, and you blocked it for so long that the Democrats eventually didn't get it, That might be a little bit more of a record of obstruction. So,
Maybe.
Look, this is what the American people get super annoyed by. That's why they don't like politicians, and I think it also implicates the media a little bit. So, Mitch McConnell, look, even the Republicans, even your voters have a gut sense that you're full of crap. That you were the guy blocking Obama every step of the way. So when you come back out like you didn't do that, you didn't break the record on filibusters, and you're like, can you believe the Democrats are doing obstructionism? You look preposterous. You look like a fool. And it makes all politicians seem like they are greasy liars. And by the way, the Democrats flip over often as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, oh, I can't believe they're doing obstruction to us, and then the Republicans get in office. Look, I would retaliate too, but they do, and then they go from obstruction is terrible to obstruction is great. And so I would just be honest about it. If I'm the Democrats, I'd say, look, these some bitches broke the record on obstruction, and they took Merrick Garland away from us. I will obstruct them to no end. I am going to try to top their record on obstruction. I'd be honest about it. And for McConnell, I think they'd respect you more, including your own voters, if you came out and said, look, when Obama was in charge, we hated him. So we try to block everything he does. So I understand the Democrats are trying to block everything we do, but we have the majority, and we're going to ram it down their throats. I don't care what we did in the past.
Yeah.
Then you know what? Republican voters were like, "Oh, that sounds strong. Hypocrite. Who cares? We're used to that anyway, right? At least don't lie to me and don't give me this gobbledygook." Yeah. And the reason the media aids and abets it is because they don't call them out on it. So it just keeps on
the
going.
honorable senator.
Yeah. Anytime he does that at a press conference, they should be all over him. Didn't you break the record? Didn't you break the record? Didn't you break the record on filibusters? Didn't you block Garland for a year? How could you say that with a straight face? That is an unbelievable thing to say. Instead, nary a peep.
Yeah. They get away with it. Okay, let's turn to slightly different news. As we predicted on last week's Power Panel, the largest iceberg in human history has now broken free from Antarctica, tearing itself off of the Larsen C ice shelf. It totals about 2,240 square miles, about the size of the state of Delaware, and its volume, 40 trillion cubic feet of ice, or 1.1 trillion tons of ice, is twice that of Lake Erie. So it is now broken free, as it had been expected for several months that it eventually would, and is now floating off to God knows where. But that's an amazing stat there. That ice shelf on this gigantic continent lost so much ice when this broke off that it has dropped down to 5th largest ice shelf on Antarctica from 4th. That's how big of an effect it actually had there. And that is now floating off, where it will cause problems potentially near South America on shipping lanes and things like that. But certainly is, I think, a bad sign for the direction our planet is moving, or that we are moving it in.
It's so large that they are considering redrawing the map of Antarctica.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's how big a piece will now float into the sea. It is about 2/3 of the size of Cyprus. So if you've ever seen Cyprus on a map, it's underneath Turkey. It's sitting right in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's big. Like,
it's a big portion the size of Hawaii.
Yeah. And
4 Londons.
If you can imagine almost the size of Hawaii or almost the size of Cyprus, just floating around. Floating around. And
Trump's going to build a hotel in it.
Look, if he has a connection to the president of Antarctica, trust me that he'll try. And he'll send Don Jr. in there. And he'll say he didn't collude at all. Anyway.
Well, so there's an interesting debate going on that we talked about before the show. Now, we know that this particular iceberg breaking off is not going to immediately raise ocean levels or anything like that. It was a portion of the Antarctic which is already in the water, so it doesn't actually change for it to have broken off. But there are concerns about what sort of sign this gives us for climate change. And the scientists seem to disagree a little bit in this particular case. So a glaciologist from the Midas team, Martin O'Leary, said, although this is a natural event, and we're not aware of any link to human-induced climate change, this puts the ice shelf in a very vulnerable position. This is the furthest back that the ice front has been in recorded history. We're going to be watching very carefully for signs that the rest of the shelf is becoming unstable, because as we explained on last week's show, when this front-facing section of the ice shelf breaks off, it makes it much easier for the ice further up on the ice shelf to go behind it. And a lot of that ice is not already in the ocean. It is actually on land. So when that moves off and breaks off and goes into the ocean, that will raise ocean levels globally. Now, Martin O'Leary says that they don't have any specific connection to human-induced climate change, but not all scientists actually believe that. One scientist, Christopher Schumann, who works in the area, said, "At this time, we don't see any signs that this is going to cause further break. On the other hand, this is over 10% of the ice shelf area, so that's not a good sign. And it's pretty clear there's a connection to an overall warming that part of Antarctica has experienced." Historically, this is just the latest scary sign. In 2002, the smaller Larsen B ice shelf, which had existed for 10,000 years, partially collapsed and formed an iceberg the size of Rhode Island. NASA doesn't expect the rest of Larsen B to survive the decade. Back in the previous decade, there was another large section that broke off. So we had Rhode Island, now we have Delaware. I don't know, is the next one Connecticut? Oh, we're eventually going to have Texas? What's going to happen?
We might even eventually get into red states. Okay, so, damn it, John, I'm not a scientist, I'm a talk show host.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard for me to judge which of these scientists are right. And I'm not in the right-wing camp, which says, scientists, I don't believe them. So if a majority of them say that it is not related to climate change, and it's not a majority, they're split, right? This is not an issue where you have 97% of the world's scientists on one side. Then I'm going to say, I guess they know better than I do. But as a matter of logic, I'm on the side of the scientists that are saying, of course it's related. The reason why it's of course is because, well, if you have global warming, which all the scientists agree to, right, 97% of the world's scientists, well, it'll make that ice shelf warmer, making it more likely to break off. That doesn't mean it's the only factor. And it doesn't even mean that it wouldn't necessarily happen otherwise, but could it be happening quicker because it is warmer? Its logic seems to indicate almost certainly.
Yeah.
And then when you look at what John was telling you, Larsen A ice shelf broke off in 95, Larsen B, the size of Rhode Island, broke off in 02, and now this one just broke off in 2017. Well, that's a ton of ice breaking off very recently, especially given that Larsen B had been in place for 10,000 years. So it seems to me that the warming logically had something to do with it, and obviously some of the scientists come out on that side. But it's just a little less clear than most of the climate change issues.
Yeah, I would not call myself an expert yet, although I am working on it. I've studied it quite a bit, both when I was in academia and more recently. I think that the stance of a lot of scientists is less that it has nothing to do with human-induced climate change, and rather that it's difficult to point specifically the connection. It's more, I mean, they do the same thing when it comes to natural disasters, storms, and, increased size and frequency and intensity of hurricanes, that you can't say that this hurricane would not have existed if not for climate change, but you will see more hurricanes of a particular sort. I think that, and also, by the way, and this is the thing about scientists that the right wing knows nothing about, scientists, for the most part, aside from a few, are far more humble than they should be about both their expertise, but also about what their data has shown. And so they're very slow to claim a connection until repeatedly peer-reviewed studies have shown it. And so I think that they're being a little bit careful here. I don't think that many would say that there is no connection.
Yeah, and so if all they're saying is you can't know for sure if this particular hurricane is connected to global warming or this particular ice shelf breaking off, then sure, of course we agree with that. In that we don't want to Inhofe it, like, I still have a snowball, so there must be no climate change. There's hurricanes, so there must be climate change. No, of course not. There's hurricanes before, ice shelves have broken off before. The question is the severity, the degree to which it's happening, and the speed at which it's happening. And so, logically, I think most scientists agree that it is a contributing factor to it. They're just being overly cautious in our interpretation, the best we can tell, in saying you can't tell that it's the proximate cause for this particular ice shelf.
That's my belief.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
All right. You want to take a quick break?
Yeah, why don't we take our first break?
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, fear not, we do have Trump news.
It's coming. Still a little bit off.
Yes.
It's coming.
Yeah, and we also have more general Republican hideous behavior. That's also coming up.
Got some locker room talk for you.
Yeah. No handcuffs. Could you imagine one whisper of a tree when you actually see handcuffs on at least a Trump.
Tiffany.
God knows what she's up to. Anyway, we'll be right back.
I want to do a quick announcement before we get on to the stories because I think it's important and I want to encourage you guys to go. All right, so TYT will be at Politicon this year. The dates are July 29th and the 30th, and I'm actually extremely excited. In the past, when I've done Politicon events, it's always been panels. Last year I did that panel with a number of anti-Bernie Sanders people, and of course it was a lot of fun because I was the only one on there that supported Bernie. But this year we're going to be debating people. Debates are going to happen.
Can I just say, if you missed Politicon last year, that was a mistake, because Anna's panel alone was worth the price of admission, because they love balance. They love talking to the press about balance, right?
Right.
But all of a sudden, there was only one Bernie Sanders supporter and wall-to-wall Hillary Clinton supporters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Including a lot of the people you see on TV. And she mauled. The entire crowd was on your side. But look, it's not just that you kicked ass. It's not that just the crowd was on your side. It's that if the crowd, even if it's unfair because the crowd is all Bernie Sanders, then maybe you should have a couple of Bernie Sanders panelists, right?
Right.
But they didn't need it because they had Anna.
Well, it was a fun discussion, and I really enjoyed it. But this year is also going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get involved in a number of debates. Cenk, who are you debating?
Oh boy, here we go. Buckle up, everybody. You asked for it, you're going to get it. Ben Shapiro. Okay.
Bloop, 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 bloop. All right.
Right-wingers have been asking for quite some time. Come and see.
All right. And I will be debating Ann Coulter.
Damn.
Ann versus Anna. Anna versus Ann. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. And Hassan will also be there, and he is also debating someone who is a millennial who is very much against millennials. Like, that's his whole shtick. So that should be a lot of fun as well.
That ought to be great. Woke Bay versus Sleepy Bay.
Anyway, you guys can get your tickets by going to politicon.com/TYT. Politicon.com/TYT. It takes place in Pasadena, California. We really hope to see you guys there, so definitely check it out.
And if you're watching this as a video on YouTube or Facebook, we'll have the link down below for you guys.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's always these weird cream cheese options. I can never just find the plain. What about salmon? Do I look like a grizzly bear? Here, try this veggie. Here's the plain. Where is it? You're more of a grape drink kind of guy, right? Or try this mouthwash. Where's the plain? Do you like sexual healing? Where is the plain? Where's the plain? Where's the plain? Where is it? Where's the plain? Dude. Anna Rasparian. No, I want the plane. Supervisor! Aren't you the supervisor? Isn't the whole point of being supervisor? Why do you get to decide my cream cheese options? At what point did you decide there'd be no plain cream cheese? I don't understand. Take it easy, man. No, this is true just like with politics and anything else. If we don't stand up for ourselves, they're just gonna fuck us even harder. You're not gonna believe this. They kicked me out of the kitchen.
Just Ray here writes in on hashtag TYT Live, saying the GOP healthcare bill is dead is the same as saying Trump has no chance of being president. Didn't work out so well. Here. It just comes out. All right. John Seal says, Trump, the iceberg is Obama's fault. Wait for it.
I saw someone tweeted that the Chinese broke it off Antarctica as a hoax.
It is a very elaborate hoax. Or someone, 400-pound guy in his basement might have done. Maybe. Nobody knows. Control Left writes in, oh, please, let it hit Mar-a-Lago first. Iceberg! Just fly ahead! Okay, anyway. And then, finally, RDGP writes in, I don't know if this is technically a haiku, but it's definitely a poem. The TYT CEO is Jenks. He seeks to break up banks. Through his activism, he fights corporatism, and for that we give him our thanks.
Isn't that a limerick?
Top of the morning.
Let's ask Francis when he gets back.
Okay, he's Scottish, not Irish. Although I don't know where limericks come from. Okay. All right. Well, RDGP, that was really nice. What am I doing? That's a poem, dude. T-shirt. We're bringing back House TYT. We just decided.
Is that a T-shirt I see?
Yeah, we're gonna bring back House TYT T-shirts for Game of Thrones. And very likely, not official
With
decision.
the lizard.
I'll be like Trump. We're going to be announcing something soon. It's going to be terrific, okay? Anyway, go to shoptyt.com, but RDGP, you don't have to because you're going to get a free one.
Boom, there you go.
All right, what's next?
Okay, back into the news. Kirsten Anderson worked as a staffer for the Iowa Senate GOP, and in the office that she worked in, the, as they call it, locker room talk got so bad that she and others tried to resolve the situation, tried to change the culture there, and this situation did change. She was fired. Now, that's her account, to be fair. The state attorneys defending the case don't dispute all of her accounts of lewd behavior in the office, but contend she was fired after months of problems with the quality of her work, which I believe they cut and pasted from some of Fox News' explanations as to why they let some of their women go. But anyway, let's get into some of what she alleges took place, some of the quotes she heard, because this stuff gets interesting, a little bit funny, and a little bit rough. She said that conversation and jokes were always free-flowing.
That sounds fun.
By itself,
no
sounds
problem.
fine.
No problem.
Anderson said that she was friends with senior analyst Jim Friedrich, but she and other women were bothered by taunts and teasing from him about their sex lives and other lewd and racially insensitive topics. So, man, he's really fitting everything in there. Jeez.
Yeah, and it's starting to be problematic here.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the racially insensitive stuff, God knows where that's going to go. And asking about your personal sex life, no, that's out of bounds.
Taunting you about your sex life.
Yeah, further out of bounds, clearly out of bounds, but let's get to the more deep details.
Okay, she says, sometimes we would even yell, I mean really yell at him to stop. It got to the point where we would even yell, how would you like it if we said these things to you? And his reply was either laughter or, I don't care, you can say whatever you want to me. Which I knew before reading it would be his response.
Yeah,
that would be most men's response in this case, because men think in a particular way, I guess.
Yeah, it's the least effective thing you could do to a person who's either sexually harassing you or taunting you in some other way like that. Well, how would you like it if I did it to you?
That's all he wants. That's literally the only thing that he wants.
He's basically saying, please talk about my sex life.
He wants it so bad that he's willing to risk a sexual harassment lawsuit to get it.
Yeah. So that's not very effective. But
now there is more.
Yes.
Anderson recalled one incident in which Friedrich showed her a naked picture of reality TV star Kim Kardashian on his work computer and asked her what she thought. She doesn't actually say what she thought. At other times, Friedrich would announce a, quote, hot chick report and summon staff in the office to look at women walking by outside his window. Which, okay, so he says hot chick alert. It's a little bit weird for a grown man to say that. Theoretically, people go to the window. Okay, that's a little bit weird. But he's summoning people to the window, it says, to look at hot chicks walking by. That's a little weird.
Okay, so let me tell you the things that I think are acceptable.
And there will be more, by the way.
Yeah. So, if you worked on Pop Trigger on the TYT network and your job was to cover entertainment news, looking at naked pictures of Kim Kardashian are completely within your work context.
It's a responsibility of yours.
You have to. I think there's some, point to be made that it's part of your job.
That's what Brett told me.
Yes. If you're working at some state political office. That has nothing to do with your job. And it is textbook sexual harassment to go around to women being like, "Oh, check out this naked chick. Yeah, look, everybody, naked chicks," right? So, no, you can't do that. But still, I don't want to minimize it, but that's the least of his problems.
Yeah.
You can't run into an office and be like, "Hey, everybody, check out this hot chick that we all want to stare at." Like, you couldn't do that in a normal office, let alone you're in a political office.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be representing the people of Iowa, and meanwhile, you're like, "Hey, everybody, I found somebody that I'd like to, leer at. You guys want to leer at him with me?"
Yeah.
No, not acceptable.
And I would say then even worse is directly taunting and teasing about their sex life and trying to get involved with it and talk to them about it.
Yeah, in fact, we have them on tape. If I could just play that real quick.
Please forgive me if I'm being personal, but tell me about your sex life.
How did you remember you had that? Because think about it. If you're a staffer, you're Kirsten Anderson, you're just trying to move up in your career, this is probably not where you see yourself ending, and this guy that theoretically has power over the rest of your career is taunting you about your sex life. So what if you don't play along? You don't think it's at least reasonable to think that the woman could be worried about what effect that could have on her career? Of course she's going to.
Yeah, look, let me give two more pieces of leeway to guys, and then, I don't know for what degree of trouble I'll get in over this, but, so if you try one thing and because you're not sure, hey, maybe you want to date somebody at work, now, by the way, I believe that's perfectly okay. It depends probably on the state that you're in, right? But you ask them out or whatever, and then they say no, and you let it go, I think everybody's going to live. Okay?
I think it depends on the power dynamic, but theoretically, if you're not in a management position.
But I think in California, even in a management position, now they have to allow you to date people. Okay, so it's getting a little topsy-turvy, but it's okay. But if you then persist, knowing that they're not interested in that kind of talk, whether it was a joke, you asked them on a date, whatever it was, and you continue to persist, dude, that is, again, textbook harassment. Don't come back and then go, "How could I have known?" Right?
Yeah.
You could say, "How could I have known?" in the first joke, or, but you can't say it on the third one or the 18th one.
Especially when they're specifically complaining and, in their words, yelling at you to stop. Now, there's a few other things that happen. Three more things. So this is about Friedrich. He started calling women expletives, especially his wife. This is, I think, after they were on the outs. Their relationship had deteriorated. The jokes increased. The anger towards ethnicities increased.
Oh, boy.
It was very scary. She also said, she told jurors that former Senator Sean Hammerlink, a DeWitt Republican, regularly stopped by the staff office and would comment on the size of certain lobbyists' breasts.
Okay, now what's your excuse for that one? I mean, come on, you can't. Of course you can't do that at work.
I got something worse for you.
Okay.
The lobbyists, theoretically, are of age, at least. Hammerlink would make comments about the skirt lengths of Senate pages, juniors and seniors in high school who are hired to help legislators with daily tasks. I mean, there you're talking about, let's be generous, 17-year-old girls? Maybe?
So remember, these
Maybe
are
younger?
two different guys. Friedrich is the one throwing the C word around, and Hammerlink is the one checking out the juniors and seniors in high school. Again, if one reference to the lobbyist breast is already too far in this context, okay? But if someone at the office complained and said, "I do not like when you mention other women's breast size as a way we should judge them in the work context," you're insane to continue to do that. And of course you're going to get sued, and you should.
Yeah.
So, and look, and one last bone to the guys. Look, nobody's trying to regulate your thoughts. And if you got a friend at work, and you guys are at lunch somewhere else, and you're joking around, nobody's going to be PC cops and come and arrest you at Applebee's, okay? But if a person has said at work, you have made them uncomfortable with the sexual things that you're saying, then yes, you're out of bounds. You're out of bounds. You've got to be able to make that distinction.
Yeah. That would seem to be obvious, but apparently on some of them it's not. Family values.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Family values. They value large-breasted lobbyists. That's the particular set of family values that they have.
Yeah, to be fair to the Republican Party, they are the family values party. So they even value your daughters.
They do. Oh, that's where it gets uncomfortable. And maybe he doesn't know. I don't know. But those girls are just trying to get involved. It's an internship. They're worried about college. And some gross old guys commenting on them. Hopefully they didn't hear it at the very least.
Yeah. And last thing is that, you don't know who's right. They'll have to go to court and sort this out. But it is an awfully convenient timing that after she complains about sexual harassment, they're like, or files for sexual harassment, they're like, right, we found a file here saying shoddy work. Yeah, right? That could be, and especially if they fired her first and then she complained about sexual harassment, then okay.
She's alleging that that's not the case.
Yeah, she's alleging, and that's why you go to court. So I don't want to totally prejudge, but that timing seems pretty relevant as to what happened first.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we jump back into something that was brought to my attention just today. Donald Trump is apparently interested in finding out about the real issues that real Americans care about, unfiltered from all of that mainstream media BS. And so if you're one of the lucky few on his email listserv, you might have received an email including a section like this. Politicians have spent too much time bickering and not enough time listening, so today we're turning off that awful, blistering noise of Washington. Instead, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the American heartland, the real America that lives outside of the DC media fantasy world, because outside of DC, it's just the heartland. There's nothing else. There's no coast. With our 6-month mark approaching, I want you to take the Listening to America survey to tell me the true sentiments, concerns, and interests of real America. That's not the whole message. There was a whole lot of bashing of the media and saying that you can't trust the media and all that. But then you click on the link and you go to this survey. I think that we can help him out here in just a second, but I want to give you an idea of the sort of questions that are in this survey. Some of them are, sort of normal things you expect from a right-winger. Have excessive government regulations, rules, and red tape burden you personally? Probably not, but okay, they want to find out more about that. Do you think universities today indoctrinate rather than teach students? There you're getting into slightly more questionable territory. Do you trust the media? Wow. Well, we know that they probably don't if they're on his listserv. Do you find the news to be generally too negative/hateful? They love that hateful media.
Yeah. So it's called the Listening to America survey, but what this is a classic push poll.
Yes.
So a push poll is designed to get you to get you to think one way while posing it as a question.
Mm-hmm.
So in the old days, you would have had half of these questions with the Republican Party anyway, distrusting the media, etc. But the Trump team adds extra words to it, like, you find the media to be hateful. They wouldn't say that in the past. Now, though, Trump's like, they're only criticizing me because they hate.
Yeah.
Right? So they're taking that Trump talking point and pushing it through their poll while they're trying to figure out what you want.
Yeah.
While they're listening to you. No, the whole point is to talk to you.
Yeah, and some of it, again, seems to be leading in that direction. Do you feel that you cannot publicly admit that you support Trump?
Although that one's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. I think there should be a bit of shame, but that's fine. And they're certainly going to lead to more people feeling like that after seeing the question. English is currently not recognized as the official language of the United States. Do you think it should be? So this is about the real issues that real Americans care about. But it's not just questions. There is actually an opportunity for the people who do this survey to write back. So if you bring this up, you're going to see that there's a text field there. What else do you think the president needs to know about the real America? We're listening. Now, the interesting thing about Trump is that he doesn't seem to know much about anything, especially America and the issues that matter to it most, considering what he's likely to do on taxes, his approach to climate change, what they're doing potentially to healthcare, even as we speak. And so, look, he wants to ask about English as the official language and whether all the media shouldn't be trusted. But there are some big issues out there. And theoretically, if you go to GOP.com/listening to America surveys, we're going to put the link right there, you can fill that out. And we can give him some suggestions for real issues that he should be focusing on. What he needs to know about real America and not just his portrayal of it on Twitter.
Yeah, so these are meant to be touch points on cultural issues that actually don't have anything to do with your life, but that get to the core of your identity and make you emotional. So, how many times have you had a real issue with English as the official language? I've had it sometimes. When I'm in Miami, I do get frustrated that at least 50% of that particular city speaks Spanish, and some percentage speak only Spanish. So I have trouble communicating. Now, It's not my country. It's not my city solely, right? I love Miami, but other people live in it, right? So they speak Spanish. I speak English. You can say that's a sad day for me, sad day for them. I don't want to dictate that that's the official language, but my point is, even if you are from time to time frustrated by it, as I am, I wish we would all speak one language, but that's a wish, right? That is a minuscule issue. It's happened to me in my life, particularly because of Miami, 7 times, right? And if you live in Kansas, how many times it happened to you where you're like, there we go again with Tagalog.
Yeah.
I need English here. Everybody here is speaking.
Always Urdu. Urdu.
I can't, if I hear one more person talking Swahili, I'm out of here, okay? I'm going to move out of Topeka. So this is not a real issue, but it gets you to go, America's supposed to speak English, man! That goes to my identity. I'm angry. I don't know what I'm angry at, but I'm angry. But in terms of what actually affects your life, Jesus, whether how high your premium is, your copay, whether you have health care when someone in your family gets sick, oh my God, that is monumentally important.
Totally.
But the point of these so-called issues is to distract you from that. And part of the reason that people do distractions, and they do it like in a heist, for example, is so you don't see them taking the money out from the other end of the building.
Yeah.
And so the tax cuts that are coming are so gigantic and so exclusively for the rich that they want you to worry about things that don't matter at all while they pull off that heist.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to take our second break, but when we come back, we do have 2 more stories. One of them will be breaking down those tax cuts, giving you some of the fabulously large numbers there. So don't go anywhere.
It's the post-game show. Brett Ehrlich and Kim Horcher join me.
I think there's an interesting thing to be written or done about the logic of repealing EPA regulations, because that is baby killing.
Yeah.
Like, you're a baby killer. Like, everything you're doing is aborting babies. And you can go specifically to, like, Monsanto and pesticides that end up creating birth defects that abort babies. So, in a way, that is an abortion clinic that you're starting by repealing FDA regulations and EPA regulations.
That's right. But we know what they really mean when they say that they're pro-life.
Right, and that's the thing for me is, like, I'm tired of everyone speaking in code and rushing to, like, confirm their pre-existing biases. I just want them to tell me what they're actually pissed about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like with the things that we were talking about on one show were like, people are okay with Trump having his own private server.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got mad at someone else for that.
Her emails.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so, okay, it's fine. You know you're bullshit. I know you're bullshit. So tell me what you're actually mad about, because it's probably your dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably your mom and your dad, and that's why you're mad, and it's created this crazy shit from this probably very personal relationship you have with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, and you're angry and frustrated, and you're talking in strange codes and giving certain people passes and other people not. You read headlines and articles in this sprint to find some way to confirm what you already believe.
Yeah.
And you stop when you get it, and you don't read the end of it. Like, I get it, but tell me what you're actually mad about.
Okay, you know what? This is a good therapeutic exercise to close out the post-game show. Why don't we each state what we are the most angry about?
I'm the most angry about boycotts right now.
Oh.
Just like, boycott it, that thing's the worst. Like, if I were to get into a business right now, it would be litmus paper sales.
Uh-huh.
Because everyone's like, litmus test on that, fuck you, boycott, delete.
Yeah.
And it's like, read the history of boycotts. Which ones are good, and which ones are like, you weren't going to buy that shit anyway.
I am angry about willful ignorance. I am angry about throwing away data that we have applied intellectual power to for a reason. I am tired of the rejection of intellectualism, or deciding that intellectual people are elitists or somehow they think they're better than you. Maybe they are. They know things, and you should try to know things about something. Forcing yourself into the dark is never going to bring us forward. It's never going to end up with a positive result.
Hey,
Hey, Al, I can't remember. Is there a specific blur we use for Miley Cyrus's butthole? Is it like a Gaussian or a mosaic or a compound?
Back on the Young Turks, Jenk and John with you today. Brendan Harris wrote in on YouTube Super Chat. I think the Trumps are just so used to being untouchable in the field of white-collar crime, thanks to their wealth, but now they're stepping into treason territory and woefully unprepared, hence no attempt to cover up. That's actually going to be the heart of the next discussion, Brendan, so thank you for bringing that up. Nick writes on Twitter, Jenk's soundboard is a treasure trove of greatness. Well, it is hard to disagree with that. We did have a giveaway. We did have a giveaway of the soundboard during the fundraising drive for journalists. But maybe we'll bring back the soundboard in our next app. But we'll see.
Imagine someday, after the presidency of Donald Trump Jr., there's nothing left, and people are picking through the remains, and they find this 100 years in the future. They're going to try to figure out the significance of each one of those quotes. Why were these chosen?
Why were these chosen? And and the last thing that they'll ever hear, I can't find it. Oh yeah, is maybe the very last episode of the Young Turks.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Give me a break. Okay, anyways, last one is Matt Brownfield writing in. What is it with these scumbags and so desperately wanting to regress society back to the madmen thinking and behaving? Well, there's a good reason for that. Back then, they felt like they were in charge. And they were. They could do anything they wanted. They could sexually harass people. Oftentimes that work sexually assault people. And get away with it. So power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so they're like, well, you're taking my right to harass women away from me. They perceive that as their right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and a lot of people will defend them. You can see it in the comments on that video if you'd like. Anyway, let's jump back into the news from yesterday. Last night, Donald Trump Jr. was grilled by Sean Hannity for his apparent interest in working with the Russian government to help get his father elected. I'm sorry, I'm just having some fun. It was Sean Hannity's show, which is a safe space for the Trump family, and Trump went there and nowhere else because he knew he would be treated with kid gloves fit for him. So we've got some videos of him explaining why he thinks that he didn't do anything wrong. Here's the first.
If there was something that came from it that was shady, if it was a danger to national security, I would obviously bring it right to someone, but I didn't know what anything was. It turns out it was nothing, and therefore there's nothing to be able to actually talk about.
The whole contact took how long? How long was the meeting?
Like 20 minutes or so.
About 20 minutes. And Jared left after 5 or 10?
Yes.
Like she said, and Paul Manafort was on his phone the whole time.
Pretty much. Listen, like I said, it was pretty apparent that this was not what we were in there talking about.
A lot of people are going to want to know this about your father.
Did you tell your father anything about this? It was such a nothing. There was nothing to tell. I mean, I wouldn't have even remembered it until you start scouring through the stuff. It was literally just a wasted 20 minutes, which was a shame.
There's two awesome things. One is you have not committed a crime if you were on your cell phone while doing it. If you ever murder someone, hold the gun in one hand, the phone in the other. And the second one is that he really seems to think that if it's proven that he didn't get anything from it, and that has not been proven because we've seen the emails that he chose to leak. We didn't see the emails that came before that or after that, which are probably going to be very interesting. That if he didn't find anything, then he is in the clear. That is not the case. He expressed a clear desire after learning that this was a representative of the Russian government using information given by the Russian government. He said, I want it. Doesn't matter if you end up getting it. That is the crime right there.
So that's part of conspiracy. And so to take out Russia, which is an adversary of ours, they don't necessarily have to be, but they kind of happen to be, right? But even if it was an ally, it's a foreign government that you can't take stolen goods from or stolen information from of value. That breaks two different laws. So, but imagine that it was Al-Qaeda. And he's like, look, I just want to hear them out. I went to, Al-Qaeda said they had secret information on Hillary Clinton that could really hurt her campaign. So I went and met with her because I wanted to hear them out. That's not an excuse, right? No. Now, take out Al-Qaeda and put in Canada, you actually have the same thing. And Russia's somewhere in between. So it's a terrible excuse. Yeah. And then at the end there, if you notice, he did not answer the question. He asked, now you didn't tell your dad, did you? Which is all these Hannity softballs. Now, let's get you on the record here saying all the right things, Don. Yeah. But he couldn't.
Yeah, he just kept looking away when he's asked a question, the classic lying thing.
Yeah.
And look, they're going to keep saying that Trump didn't know about it. There's some small chance that is the case. Again, it's really hard to say that this was an unimportant meeting to you when you decided to not only go without knowing the person as the son of the president, but you decided to bring his son-in-law and chief advisor and his campaign manager. For some reason, you felt you needed to bring all those people, even though it was a nothing meeting that you don't even remember. That makes a lot of sense. But as Keith Olbermann has pointed out about 1,000 times now on Twitter, it's weird that within 10 minutes of the end of your meeting with this person that produced nothing, your father began tweeting about the 33,000 emails of Hillary Clinton that have gone missing. That is possibly just a coincidence, but that's an interesting one.
So yesterday we showed you the video of Trump making the speech between the time that his son set up the meeting, but before he actually had the meeting. And in that interim period, Trump did a speech where he's like, "Oh, we're going to get some information on Hillary. You're going to love it." Yeah. And then it turns out they didn't get the information on Hillary, and hence, right after the meeting, he starts saying and tweeting, "Hey, does anybody have those 30,000 emails that?" Because they thought they were going to get the 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton deleted from the Russians.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when they didn't get it from the Russians, they're like, damn it, okay, let's just ask for it publicly.
Exactly. Now, let's turn to the video again, just a little bit more from yesterday's interview.
Did you hand over any and all documents? I will. I've said it publicly. I said it yesterday. More than happy to cooperate with everyone. I just want the truth to get out there. And that's part of why I released all the stuff today. I wanted to get it all out there. They're trying to drag out the story. So in all fairness, they have it. They want to drip a little bit today, drip a little bit then. So I was like, here it is. I'm more than happy to be transparent about it, and I'm more than happy to cooperate with everyone.
So as far as you know, as far as this incident's concerned, this is all of it.
This is everything. This is everything.
Started by saying there are more documents, being clear there. Then saying they want to drag it out and drip and drip and drip, and thank God that they did. Because each time they did that, he had to revise his story, showing that he was lying from the beginning. First of all, that he didn't remember that it happened. Then that it was about adoption, supposedly. Then that it was just about information was offered, but I had no idea who it was from. And then it became clear that he knew exactly who it was from, and it was from the Russian government. If they had just done the whole thing at once, we would not have gotten the clear trail of lies from Donald Trump Jr.
So one of the things that I'm pissed about this story is that we made a master graphic here that accidentally makes Sean Hannity and Eric Trump look cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Donald Trump, you really can't make look cool. Okay.
Eric Trump has never looked that cool.
Yeah, Hannity's never looked that cool. So, but yes, to what you said, John, clearly, I mean, he's such a bad liar. He says, have you released everything? I will. Yeah. And later, it's everything. Dude, keep your lies straight. You're so dumb.
But by the way, also, and I know that the right-wingers watching this are going to hate this, look at the, don't call it white privilege if you want, call it rich privilege. you're facing potentially multiple criminal issues right there. I'm happy to work to resolve this issue. No, you have to work to resolve this issue because you might well have broken the law. It's like, I would love to talk to the police about this if necessary. No, you need to because you're an idiot and you got yourself in this situation. However, there's more to this prevent defense than just Donald Trump going on state media last night. You also have these reports being released by the Washington Post about what's going to happen to the journalists that leaked this story, or I should say broke this story. This is coming out of the White House. Their plan, as one member of the team describes it, is to research the reporter's previous work, in some cases going back years, and to exploit any mistakes or perceived biases. They intend to demand corrections, trumpet errors on social media, and feed them to conservative outlets such as Fox News, although one admits that there is an issue with this strategy, saying, the meeting happened, it's tough to go to war with the facts. But some people do. Some people have been engaged in a war on info for quite a while. So you can maintain that for years.
Yeah, I actually disagree with that last advisor. The conservatives have been going to war with facts for a long, long time, and it's not just conservatives. It's one of the oldest propaganda tricks, which is that if you're attacked on something that is true, counterattack the messenger. It doesn't, like, the substance of what happened, the meeting with the Russians, that collusion, was it a crime, not a crime, was it a conspiracy, etc. Don't worry about that. If you can just attack the messenger and smear them, it will confuse the audience. They'll go, I don't know, but is that guy trustworthy, the guy who broke the story? Now, in this case, Donald Trump Jr. actually leaked the emails himself. So you'd have
because he knew the New York Times was going to imminently.
I know, but my point is that the person who wrote the New York Times story then is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because if you said, oh, you can't trust him to have accurately quoted the emails, and then you show other things he did wrong, at least you'd have a leg to stand on. But in this case, the person who they got the information from is Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah.
So you'd have to attack his credibility, which
can we trust him to release the information on it? Yeah.
But they will, and they will muddy the waters, and it'll work great.
Well, let's look at a little bit of that muddying the waters. So, not just Sean Hannity, but let's look at the way Fox News decided to break some of this incredibly interesting information to their audience. You're going to see this in video 7.
So far, our review has identified key sections. The Crown Prosecutor of Russia met with his father and in their meeting offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. It continues, this is obviously very high level and sensitive information. I can also send this info to your father via Rona, but it is ultra sensitive, so wanted to send to you first.
So that last paragraph there had the classic ... That means there was something that didn't matter, and you needed to fit all the words on one page, so you take it out. But what they took out in that ... was that this information was coming from Russia and was part of the Russian government's plan to get your father elected. Weird that that's what they chose to take out of that paragraph, and so you can have watched that as a Fox News viewer and have basically missed the entirety of that story thanks to their creative use of ellipses.
Yeah, they mentioned Russia only once, but in the context of was Russia helping Hillary? That was in the emails. They took out every other reference to Russia where Goldstone said, this is from the Russian government,
and that they're supporting your father.
Yes.
Weird. Yeah, and this is why we call it state media.
And that's exactly how they muddy the waters. So if you're watching Fox News, you will scream to your friends and family, no, that had nothing to do with Russia. I saw it on Fox News, and the emails didn't say Russia, except for how she's helping Hillary, right? And then later they'll attack the writers from the New York Times, as they're planning to do now. And you go, Paul, did you know that guy once had a traffic ticket and might have smoked weed when he was in 7th grade? Did you know that? Did you know that? Okay, and I have family members and friends who come and say that stuff to us, right? Because they hear that propaganda and they just put it out there until people go, I don't know, I can't tell who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, and I know which team I'm on, so I guess I'll just go with that.
Yeah. Okay, taxes. Yes, let's do taxes.
Okay, we gotta do it fast, though. That's all. But this is important, and it's a good preview of what you can expect in a few months. Take a look at the new results of an analysis by the Tax Policy Center of Trump's proposed tax plan. Now, this is from About a month and a half ago, he had these bullet point lists of some of his priorities for taxes. Now, we've, over the past year or two, given you multiple breakdowns of what his tax plan is likely to look like. At one point, I went back through some of Trump's old books and looked at his principles and what tax reform should look like. And the numbers have always been stark. These newer ones also extremely stark. The tax cuts included in the Trump administration's outline for tax reform released in April could cut federal revenues by as much as $7.8 trillion over 10 years, and the benefits would go almost exclusively to the top 5%, not the top 10%. Forget the top 10% business. That's from like 5-6 years ago. Now we're focusing on at least the top 5%. Just for context, this is a smaller tax cut. A $3.4 trillion tax cut would amount to about 12% of GDP by 2027, slightly larger than all the tax cuts George W. Bush passed while in office. That's less than half as big as the expected effect of these tax cuts. And that's bigger than all of the George W. tax cuts.
So the reason they use the $3.4 trillion number is if you believe the Republicans and give them every benefit of the doubt,
yes,
and that they're going to take away loopholes. So some of those loopholes I think they will take away because that actually helps the middle class more, and they don't really care about helping the middle class.
Yeah.
Some of them, there's no way they're taking away. But if you gave them all the benefit of the doubt and said, okay, so we'll give you credit for those, the amount of the tax cut goes from $7.8 trillion to only $3.4 trillion, which goes almost all to the rich.
Yeah.
And so the best case scenario is for the Republicans who claim that they care about balanced budgets, they're going to put a $3.4 trillion hole in the budget.
And by the way, it's not just assuming that they'll do the loopholes. It's also giving them the benefit of the doubt on their dynamic scoring, where you believe all of their propaganda about how much these tax cuts are going to help the economy. If you assume a bunch of economic growth that has not been proven, and we've seen under George W. Bush, how great did the economy do after these tax cuts? Well, the economy fell apart just a few years later. So I don't know why we would give them the dynamic scoring, but they did to get to that $3.4 trillion. So I think it's much more likely to be near the $8 trillion mark.
So if you support these tax cuts, you are never, ever allowed to talk about balanced budgets again because you don't believe it. You don't come close to believing it. All you want is tax cuts for the rich. That's fine. Just own up to it.
Yeah. And now let's look at how they prioritize different classes in America. The overall plan would give the average family earning under $25,000 per year a $40 tax cut.
Wow.
Or a 0.3% boost in after-tax income. Which, look, hey, that's nice. You take your spouse out, go see Wonder Woman or something. With your $40. I mean, you're not going to get popcorn or soda or anything like that, but you can maybe see the movie in most parts of the country. Looks a little bit different for the richest Americans. The top 0.1% earning above $3.4 million a year would get an average tax cut of $937,700, or a 13.3% boost in after-tax income. They're already earning over $3 million a year, and you're just going to toss another $1 million at them.
Yeah.
Enjoy that while you're at the movies.
So just a little bit of context there. The top 0.1% starts at $3.4 million.
Yeah.
Right? So the reason why the tax cut is on average nearly $1 million is because it goes all the way up to the billionaires.
They'll throw off the numbers a little bit.
Right. So having said that, look, $1 million tax cut for the richest people in the country is unreal and painful to think about.
On average. Of course, someone like Sheldon Adelson is going to get far more, obviously.
Yeah. And even a tiny proportion of another tax cut from the healthcare bill gives Sheldon Adelson, I think, like $40 million
a year.
Right. This will give him way more than that. So, but that's why the percentages matter. So if the numbers were huge, but they said, hey, look, you know what, for the poor, it actually is a bigger percentage of their income that we're helping. So yeah, the rich are getting a lot too, but what we're really trying to do is help the poor, most importantly, the middle class, right? But that is not the case. For the poor and the middle class, you get a tiny, tiny percentage help. Not just raw numbers, percentage-wise, tiny, minuscule. But the rich get a huge percentage rate when they need it the least. 13.3% of their income goes right back to them. And it's a giant giveaway. So I just want to give you last couple of things here. So if you look at the tax cuts that are proposed here, 61% of the tax cuts goes to the top 1%. 61%. So only 39% have to be shared by 99% of us. Okay. So when they say it's for all of us, understand that's not true. 61% goes straight to the very richest people in the country. But even that is not that big a deal. But when you look at the effects of the cut and the revenue raisers in the plan, for the top 5%, they get 94.8% of all of the benefits. So the 5% richest people in the country get 95% of the benefits of this tax cut. Yeah. And the other 95% of us get only 5% of the benefits. So if you ever had a doubt about what the Republican Party stands for and who they stand for, that is now resolved. That you cannot argue that this is anything but a gigantic, historic giveaway to the rich. So if you're a Republican, don't ever talk about wealth redistribution again. Because you love wealth redistribution. You just want to redistribute it to the top. And lastly, the corporate taxes are also going to be cut. In fact, that is going to be the largest cut in the entirety of this plan is for corporate taxes, because poor old corporations, which happen to give billions of dollars in donations to the politicians who are passing these laws, they just don't get enough of a break. John, in the golden era of the 1950s, the taxes on corporations weren't that bad. That's why we were so successful. That's why we're the number one economy, and we grew the way that we did. And now they're so overburdened by taxes. So let me show you the reality. So here's the chart. In 1952, corporations paid 32% of all taxes in America. In 2015, they were down to less than 11% of taxes. Or Trump. They reduced their tax burden by 2/3, and that money does not go away. That is wealth redistribution. It's a pie chart. It goes to other parts where, guess where it goes to? It mainly went to the payroll tax for social insurance and retirement. And the payroll tax is paid by the middle class. Yeah. They redistributed their tax burden from corporations to you, and now they come back and go, oh, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Now they're going to cut corporate taxes from 35% to 15%. So now you'll pay an even bigger burden of taxes, and it's a win-win for them. Because then they turn around and go, aren't you paying so much taxes? And you go, oh my God, you're right, I am. So let's cut taxes. But what they don't tell you is they're going to cut taxes not for you, but for the rich and for corporations. Yeah. So it's a double win for them. You get mad at the Democrats when in fact they just pulled off the biggest wealth redistribution of your lifetime. Should be fun. Okay, all right, we're out of time. Now, when we come back, we've got a situation where somebody got arrested for cursing. Normally I'm against that. In this case, though, there is one part of it that might swing you in the other direction. So come back, we'll tell you all about it.
There are few things in life as exciting in the crowd form as horse racing. It is pretty awesome. It is awesome.
No, I went once and it was great.
Oh.
And a long time ago, a million years ago.
Everyone's like, oh, they're gonna go, and then shit happens. It's great drama. I have a system. If there's a gray horse, I always pick it.
But
so
you lost a lot of money, right?
But you look who's the jumpy horse, right? And I got to tell you, more times than not, the horse, when they walk him, who's the jumpiest, that guy's going to place. He's going to either win or come in. I'm telling you.
That is a much better strategy than the fucking gray horse. In Vegas, they have this team. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. When they're doing the World Series of Poker, they'll have a table right outside with one guy sitting there, $5 to tell me your bad beat story. So you give him $5 and he listens to your story, but I had the queen and he had the fucking kings. Can you believe it?
The first time I ever went to Vegas, I saw a guy selling his belt buckle and his wedding ring in the bathroom.
Oh, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
And I was
was like,
Probably getting divorced.
no, I'm going to stick to the $5 tables.
So my dad to this day says, like, whenever I tell him I went gambling stuff, oh, I hope you're lost. Because he thinks, still, after like 20 years, he thinks if I just lose one more time, I'll stop winning. And I'll say, no, Dad, I'm telling you because I won. I wouldn't tell you if I lost, it's going to give you a heart attack. I did great, and I won, whatever. And he's like, I wish you hadn't.
It's like my parents tell me, like, the last tattoo, okay? That should be the last one.
Now, you guys are going to think, especially my early behind-the-scenes footage, like, I already went and looked at the comments in the member section. He goes, oh, he's high, he's drunk. I swear to you I'm not. Well, I'll just tell you if I am.
Yeah.
Right? And so I get goofy in the behind-the-scenes stuff.
What's the need for the butter with this pretzel? This is already super fattening it up. You don't need to put butter on this thing. Why'd they make me do it, Vince? Why'd they make me do it?
I'm just saying that this is known as the rear end guy. There's no way that every person he knows doesn't call him the rear end guy.
I want you guys to see if you could see the lightning bugs. Whoa. Light them up. Light them up.
Is it true, Ritzy? I will now watch it later.
Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat. Imagine him in this. Hey, Kiki Cat. Kiki Cat. All right, this is Kiki Cat signing out. Back on the Young Turks, Jake Huger, Atticus Barron with you guys. Shiroshi V writes in, ugh, Donnie Jr. is much more stupider than Donnie. Well, actually, we did a poll on that, guys. TYTnetwork.com/stupid. And it's still ongoing. And right now, Senior is actually leading. 58.2% think that Donald Trump Sr. is still dumber than his son, Donald Trump Jr., who's at about 42%. So
Wow,
58
I'm surprised
to 42.
by that.
I voted for Senior as well.
Really?
Yeah, because Junior is super, super, super dumb, but I really think you can't get dumber than Donald Trump.
No, you're wrong, because Donald Trump, look, he's the president. He's manipulative. And there's like you have to have some level of intelligence to be a manipulative person.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
And
it's
he
a
realized,
different part of his brain, and the other parts are completely empty. Yeah, there's at least a case to be made, whereas Junior has no case to be made, I guess.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I feel like
Junior's the one who published those emails himself.
But I hear you, but Junior could probably read more than a page at a time. So even Junior probably doesn't say. I mean, nobody knew healthcare was complicated.
He might say that.
Who knows? Okay. Anyway, we also have TYTnetwork.com/dumb. That's who's dumber, George Bush or Donald Trump, and that one Trump's crushing 80-20. Anyways, all right. Now, couple other tweets for you guys. Brandon Atkins says, "How dumb are you when you need Sean Hannity to lead you to the answers that help you seem less guilty?" By the way, and Brandon, he couldn't even pull that off.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, he continued to incriminate himself. And Diva Athens says about the tax cuts that would go to the poor under the Trump tax plan. $43, by the way, was only $40. $43 won't buy you popcorn and 2 movie tickets. Wow, LA is totally financially out of touch with the rest of the country. Just saying. No, it won't. You guys in LA, 2 movie tickets and popcorn, you're not getting out of there under $40. No way, not even close.
Yeah. I think going to the movies is overrated. I would much rather watch a movie on Netflix and make my own popcorn.
There, she said it. You couldn't stop her. Strong opinions with Anna Kasparian. Okay, let's keep going.
Let's do a new show. Strong opinions with Anna Kasparian.
You think I won't?
I know you will, so I should stop. All right. We're starting with something a little different today, and it's a story that really struck a nerve with me just because you see a difference in the way that cops are reacting to someone who's acting very belligerent. So, actor Shia LaBeouf has been in Georgia to film a new movie, and he was recently arrested for public intoxication. Now, he's had a number of run-ins with law enforcement in the past, but this particular incident was caught on tape, and it looks really, really bad. Now, it all started when he went up to a group of police officers and asked them for a cigarette. At that point, he was obviously drunk. He was obviously acting a little crazy, and so cops felt like they needed to arrest him. And so, as a result, there were 2 videos that were released. The first video was someone filming what was going on. The second video, which was released today, was from the police officer's body cam. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the first video so you kind of get a sense of why this stood out to me. Take a look.
No, we can't talk nothing. I'm not going to America. I'll pay my taxes to get off my arms. So we're not gonna have a conversation? No. You're gonna put these off my arms, or you be fighting for it. You got a president that don't give a about you, and you're stuck in a police force that don't give a about you. So you want to arrest white people who give a who ask for cigarettes? I came up to you trying to be nice, you stupid.
Wow. Okay, so that is actually the body cam footage that was released today, and he was speaking or addressing a black cop.
Yeah.
Right.
What he was trying to say, inartfully to say the least, is that in his mind, he helps black people. And he's like, you have a president who doesn't care about black people. You have a police force that doesn't care about you because you're black.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently Shia is the one guy who cares about black people. It would have helped that cop if that cop hadn't just arrested him. But instead, by the way, he was threatening to get him fired because he's rich and powerful.
No, and it actually went further than that. So dash cam footage showed him literally threatening these cops. And first of all, I want to give the cops credit for the way that they handled it, because they didn't let it get under their skin. They stayed completely calm throughout the entire situation. And this is the way good cops, react to situations like this. So enough with me talking. Let's take a look at the dash cam footage.
You're a fucking bitch to the end of your days, and you live that legacy. That's what you signed up for, bitch made whore. If I have my gun, I'll blow your shit up. You're a bitch, though. So you got your shit, you do nothing. Except what, homie? Whore. Fucking bitch. Coward. Fuck you and your legacy. You got a kid? Hoso. Hoso so you can know what the fuck no-so is going. You're a bitch. For leaks. Not for years. A bitch for leaks. You're a pirate bitch. Bitch. And you put your own kind in the fucking pen. For nothing. country. I pay my taxes, you dumb bitch. You about to meet my lawyer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so believe it or not, he added one thing that made it even worse. He said, I've got more millionaire lawyers than you know what to do with, you stupid bitch.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
So, the amount of restraint that you see from the cops is awesome. And look, I want to be fair because I don't know these particular cops. I don't know how they've handled other situations in the past. But I do know that just yesterday we did a story about a police officer in Georgia beating a homeless woman while she laid on the floor with his baton, right? Luckily, she didn't die as a result of that. But it was just interesting to see these videos and juxtapose these videos to all of the other police stories that we've done in the past. And look, I'm not saying that because I wish that they would have done something violent to him. I'm saying it because these are great cops. This is how you're supposed to handle a situation. And regardless of someone's socioeconomic status or, racial background or any of that stuff, this is how, and it's a difficult job because I couldn't do it, right? If someone's talking to me like that, you think I'm going to sit there and be calm? Hell no, I'm not going to be calm, which is why I'm not a cop.
I actually think you're giving the cops, in this case, a little bit too much credit. So let me get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear what you're saying, and of course, everything's always slightly different. So there's no two cases that are perfectly analogous. But so if a poor person, instead of a rich celebrity like him, had said, I'm going to shoot your head off, or whatever he said.
You threatened the cop's life.
Yeah. Oh, man, that is not going to go over well. Okay. Now, on the other hand, he's already in the back of the car at that point. He's already handcuffed, so you would have to pull over, pull him out, and then kick his ass. So that happens less frequently. It's not like it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've done stories of powerless individuals handcuffed in the back of a police car, and then, it turns out that they got shot. They must have shot themselves, right? We've done those stories. So
I hear you. So, and it does happen from time to time. Usually it happens in the heat of arresting him, right? Where some cops go way overboard. In this case, they didn't beat him. They didn't do anything so good, and you shouldn't beat poor people or middle-class people either. But I actually think that as much of a jerk as he was, and really hard to get worse than I've got more millionaire lawyers than you know what to do with. When you're.
What does that even mean, by the way?
That means I'm above the law and I'm going to get away with this, okay? And rubbing your face in it, and all that racial stuff. So weird. I guess he thinks he's a liberal or something.
I don't know. It just looks terrible, and I'm not in his camp at all. That was so embarrassing.
So, but, why did they arrest him in the first place? The official reason is he became disorderly, using profanities and vulgar language in front of the women and children present. That's kind of a weak reason to arrest him.
Jake, he was obviously belligerent. He asked them for a cigarette, and when they said no, he lost it, right? Now, we don't have footage of
cursing at them, and you're allowed to curse at cops. I know it's not advisable.
You're not allowed to be intoxicated in a public setting, right?
I know, but that's usually reserved for, I found you to be a pain in the ass, so I'm going to use public intoxication. When people are drunk all over the place, they pick you out because you curse at them. Now, I'm telling you, it's a super bad idea to curse at cops and to go up to them and then to basically to pick a verbal fight. But even so, you should let it go. It's not illegal to curse at cops. And
I don't know. We don't know all the facts of what he did prior to the arrest, right?
But I'm just using because what I read was a quote from the cops.
Right.
Disorderly, that's usually, you were annoying me. Profanities and vulgar language, so what? In front of women and children. Is that a specific law in that jurisdiction? I'd be surprised. Right? In other words, you disrespected a police officer. Good news is we didn't kick the living crap out of you or kill you. The bad news is that's still, you're stretching to find a reason to arrest him.
He has...
As much of a dick as he is.
He has a history with cops. He has a history of doing things...
Do they even know that, though, those particular cops?
I don't know if they know that, right?
Okay.
But the reason why I'm bringing up that history is because he's acted this way in the past, right? Which makes me think that, the way he was treating them prior to the videos being filmed and prior to what we have, might have justified them wanting to arrest him, right? So, and by the way, he's a semi-powerful person who's got money and fame, and they decided to arrest him, right? And anyone else in that situation would have definitely gotten arrested. So it's interesting that, hey, in this case, the cops weren't, they weren't.
And they at least did the same kind, in my opinion, false arrest that they would do for a middle class.
We don't know if it was a false arrest. We don't have all the facts about that.
Yeah,
so.
no, and I'm stretching too much. And look, I know what you're saying. In the past, he's threatened to stab his neighbors.
Yeah, attempting to stab a neighbor, refusing to leave Walgreens, and misconduct during a cabaret performance.
But a lot of that is, again, just drunkenness, right? So
it's totally okay.
It's not okay, and he's got obviously has some issues that he's got to sort out and get some therapy on or whatever, get sober. And way worse could have happened to him, but still, being a dick is not technically illegal.
Okay. All right, so I guess it'll get sorted out in court, but maybe justice won't be served since he's got more millionaire lawyers than we know what to do with.
But you know what? One last thing on it. He actually pulled a Donald Trump there because he might have gotten away with it until he got himself into further trouble by continuing to talk. Because him saying that he'll kill the cop in the car, that's definitely a crime.
Yeah.
That's assault. So you don't have to hit someone for it to be assault. Threatening their cop's life is definitely a crime. So if they charge him with that, then he's screwed. And he should be.
At least the one thing we did find out for sure in this story was that, that cop was a bitch for leaks. Not years, leaks. What does that even mean?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't think that cop is a bitch. I'm just trying to make a joke. Okay, let's move on.
And then what we found out was Shia LaBeouf loves the word bitch. Okay.
He's ridiculous. Okay. The CEO of Qatar Airways is facing some criticism after he publicly and very transparently spoke out about the flight attendants that he likes to employ and the old grannies that flight attendants in the United States like to employ. So let me give you some context before we go to the video. This is Akbar al-Bakr, and he made his remarks earlier this month during a speaking event in Dublin, Ireland. At that event, he was supposed to commemorate a new flight route between the Irish capital and Doha. Well, he kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, and we're about to show you, so let's take a look.
The average age of my cabin crew is only 26 years. So there is no need for you to travel on this crap American carriers. You always mix up my grandmother as an American company.
Man, that audience ate it up. Okay. So this is what they used to do all the time back in the day. So when the airlines first came about, you would also always have attractive young women who were flight attendants. So then came annoying laws about how you have to be equal and treat everybody equally. And so if someone is getting older, you can't fire them just for being slightly older. Or not hire someone because they're not hot enough. But apparently if you're in Qatar and you're like, we do that. Yeah. They don't have the same laws. We do that anyway, and we rub it in.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't agree with his statements, obviously, and he's very old school, okay? So it's just funny, because when I look at him and I hear his statements, I see, like, an old school, old world kind of person, and then he has the audacity to talk about women being too old to be flight attendants. Whatever. I mean, that's another thing, right? This, like, weird double standard where, like, a wrinkly dude like that, and by the way, like, he's dishing it out, right? He can stand there and talk about how women look, right? Because women always need to be young. They always need to be hot. But dudes, they can let themselves go. Like, remember when the dad bod thing was, like, a thing? And people were like, yeah, dad bod, super hot. No, not super hot. How about guys have to have the same, or we have to have the same standards for guys as they have for us? How about that?
Catch me outside.
Catch me outside. How about that? By the way, I'm not that up in arms about this, but there was an angle to the story that I wanted to bring up. Fox News reported this, and the whole, like, tone that they took was, just reinforcing what we already knew. this guy in Qatar is a misogynistic prick. All of a sudden they care about women's rights. But when it comes to Trump wanting to grab women by the pussy, it's locker room talk. That's just locker room talk.
That's totally fine.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
He moved at him like a bitch. It's not a big deal. He's just trying to buy their furniture, that's all. So we are consistent. We are against the misogynists in America and in the Gulf. Okay? But Fox, when they got their own version of Sharia law, they kind of love it. But when the minute it's Akbar al-Bakr instead of Akbar al-Baker, if that guy's name was, just leave out the Akbar, it would be al-Baker, and he was a right-wing Republican here, they're like, oh, what's the big deal? We just did a story today about how Iowa Republicans were talking about going to the office and in front of the other female employees talking about, oh, the lobbyist tits were so big, I'd like to compare the size of the lobbyist tits, right? Yeah. And so the Republicans are like, that's fine, it's just locker room. Well, look at Akbar al-Bakr. Look at him. Okay. So the reality is both are bad. And, you know, and he was talking to business people there. So he's like, don't take the business class, if I heard him right, of those airlines. In other words, projection. If you're a horny old man like me, and you want to be served by attractive flight attendants, I'll get you young, attractive flight attendants. So what are you going to do with those grandmas? Hit on them? You can't even sexually harass their flight attendants like you can on Qatar Airlines.
God, and I'm such a softie because I feel like sick to my stomach that I've mentioned his wrinkly face, right? Because it's such a low, stupid thing to say. But the reason why I bring it up is to show like that double standard, right? Like that inability to just reflect on yourself and reflect on the way you look, right? Do you have the same standards for yourself that you do for women? Probably not, right? And it's a societal thing. It's not just true of Qatar. It's true of a lot of different countries. So it's frustrating, and I don't know. But, I don't...
Yeah, look, the entitlement thing is what drives me crazy, because he thinks, no, I'm a rich guy from Qatar. Of course, I'm entitled to hot young women. And they'll love me because I'm rich. And I'm from Qatar. Look, don't get me started on Qatar.
Okay, I won't get you started. No, I don't want to get you started. Let's move on.
Okay, all right, let's move on.
Okay, a number of tech giants are speaking out today and titling the day a day of action in order to raise awareness about the importance of net neutrality and how the FCC could potentially dismantle it. Now, Ajit Pai, someone that we spoke about quite a bit on the show, is the FCC's new chairman, and he was appointed by President Trump. He wants to scrap the open internet protections installed in 2015 under the Obama administration. Those consumer protections mean providers, ISPs, such as AT&T, Charter, Comcast, and Verizon, are prevented from blocking or slowing down access to the web. So, you know, a number of these tech giants decided to approach this in different ways, and at first I was ready to applaud them because I think it's important for them to get involved. But then when I dug a little deeper, I realized that in reality, Reddit is the only one that did something that actually grabbed people's attention. So let's go to that. So if you go to Reddit, you'll see this thing pop up. This is the first window that you'll see. And it basically lets you know that if you get rid of net neutrality, it's going to slow down certain web pages that you might view often. It'll be difficult for you to get the type of content that you like. So it's a pixelated logo that loads in its upper left corner before begging users to upgrade their monthly bandwidth allowance. Meanwhile, a pop-up blocks the page with a message typed out at a frustratingly slow speed. The internet's less fun when your favorite sites load slowly, isn't it? So I love that because it makes users realize the importance of net neutrality if they hadn't before.
And think about it, people who go to Reddit that day are less likely to stick around because they're annoyed by this slow typing message.
Right.
And a lot of them won't even get the message. But Reddit's users are, well, there's a lot of adjectives for them, but they're certainly more sophisticated when it comes to the internet. And so at least most of them will understand it. They're not like the average internet user. But still, they're risking revenue for that day. They're risking some sort of people leaving that day, etc. And they're doing it for the right cause. So all the credit in the world to Reddit there.
Absolutely.
And usually that is the epicenter for the fight back against rules like this.
It is. Alexis Ohanian, who is a co-founder of Reddit, has been fighting very aggressively against dismantling net neutrality. In fact, during the last battle that we had over this issue, he was probably the most vocal member in the tech world, and I love him for it. Now,
and that's a rare place where I think, I'm not 100% positive what the right wing on Reddit think about this, but last I heard, the left wing and the right wing agree on this issue.
Of course, because it affects everyone negatively, regardless of what your political ideology is. All right, so now I'm going to kind of be critical of other tech giants because I feel like they didn't do enough. So let's start with Google. Google has a blog post up stating the net neutrality rules that protect the open internet are in danger of being dismantled. So it's a blog post. You don't see anything if you go to the homepage. They have the Google Doodle. They haven't done anything with that. And I just want to ask, maybe I'm completely unaware and the Google blog posts are tearing it up. They go viral. Everyone can't wait for the next Google blog post. But I'm under the assumption that no one reads Google blog posts unless they're looking for something involving troubleshooting.
Yeah, so I think that I'm of two minds on this. First of all, I think that the fact that they're doing anything is great because no one's going to independently go to a Google blog post, but it will get included in the press articles.
It will, and I think that's the reason why they did it.
Yes.
Okay.
So one, they can get credit for it, but on the other hand, at least their name is in there as Google is fighting for net neutrality, and that has some effect. And so that's not such a bad thing for people who are either neutral on the issue and can be swayed, but much more importantly, for politicians that Google has some sway over because of political contributions. So we'll get to that angle in a second.
Yeah, okay. So also video game streaming site Twitch has a banner announcement on its channel page while also replacing its global emotes with a spinning wheel for 24 hours. That's good. I mean,
that's not bad. Look, we can nitpick all these, but I'll take Twitch. That's not bad.
Twitch is good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Of course, I wish that Google had put it on the main page.
Apple's not doing anything so far, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't see Facebook on the list. I know Facebook's been on the list for being for net neutrality, so that's great. I didn't see them doing anything today on this particular day. But look, further context, last time there was a fight on this issue, back in 2015, Obama was in charge, and 4 million people sent in letters saying, please keep net neutrality. Part of the reason they did it, that was already had enormous organic growth, but on one day, again, the tech companies got together and they all put out a statement on their sites saying, hey, fight on this issue. And it worked, and it was wonderful. It was bigger than today, okay? But that didn't sway Obama. The conventional wisdom is that swung Obama. It didn't. He did not act after the 4 million letters. He only acted after Google and Facebook and a couple other large tech companies finally came out and openly declared, yes, we're for net neutrality. Now, the reason Google and Facebook are understandably on the fence, if you look at it just from their business point of view, is yes, they would have to pay the internet service providers more money. Mm-hmm. So they'd have to pay a ransom to Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, etc. But they're so big, they can afford it, and it would knock out all of the little guys.
All of their competition.
And wipe out their competition. So they're actually, that's why I really, really want to give credit to Google and Facebook. And by the way, there are partners too, I should disclose that. But I want to give them huge credit for at least fighting on this issue, because we wouldn't even won in 2015 if they didn't put their political contribution, at least implied threats behind that.
I applaud them. I completely applaud them for what they've done in the past, but it's a whole new battle, and we have to fight even harder this time around with Ajit Pai and Donald Trump. And I'm being unfair because this is just the beginning. There's still some time for them to do something. And so, maybe in the near future they will do something more aggressive and it will have actual results. But I'm just speaking specifically about today. I just feel like they could have done more.
And I hear you on that, but the most important thing is the one we don't have an answer for yet. When you're talking about public comments, this time around there's already been 5.1 million comments / letters sent in to the FCC. So it's not like they don't know which side the American people are on. They know, and the polling shows overwhelmingly that people want net neutrality. So the question is, and Ajit Pai is in my opinion, clearly systemically corrupted. He was a Verizon lawyer. He was brought into the FCC to represent companies like Verizon, and he's just waiting there. He was in the Obama administration too, but he wasn't in power. Trump gets in, and he's like, great, who can I service, right? And so Trump goes, great, now give my donors exactly what they want, which is the exact opposite of the American people. And the question is, are Google and Facebook and all those guys, are they going to mount up and fight again when it comes on to the lobbyist level? Because if they engage in that fight, we can win again. But if they even stay neutral, we're done for. And they're going to kill net neutrality.
Net neutrality is like the new reproductive rights fight, right? It just keeps coming back up again and again, every 2 years, again and again. And it's just when you think there's a victory, just wait, because it's going to come back up again.
Yeah, but except in reproductive rights, it's about 60-40 pro-choice. In net neutrality, it's like 90-10. But they still don't give a shit.
Yeah. And
the reason he keeps coming back up is because they got billions of dollars to make. So they will keep on buying those politicians as long as we let them. Wolf-pack.com solve the core problem. Okay, let's take a quick break here. We've got more amazing news for you when we return.
Welcome to the Control Room exclusive members coverage of TYT postgame live from Rebel headquarters in sunny Los Angeles. So Jason, the air is electric after yesterday's postgame.
Talking about Miami, you know, the only thing about this, Jason, is we've heard the Miami stories. I'm looking at Kasperian's interest here. She's giving him the cordial glance to the side, but I just don't know if it's really there.
Oh, that's where the vagina is.
Okay, that joke landed like Apollo 13 there. And Kasperian gives him the courtesy laugh, gives him the Edwin wave.
Had you had sex at that point when you took that class?
Anyways, so...
Hold a minute. He's found an opening. Is he finding his way to come back, Jason? Jake Kruger coming back with a comment. No one would have seen this coming.
And he's in the mood, and there's some music in the background. He's got the sideburns, he's got the long hair.
He won't find himself. There's no way he's ready to. I mean, I've
It's got it. It's unbelievable.
Every dog has his day, and this dog is having the best day of his damn life.
That was an outstanding postgame. If tonight's postgame is anything like last night's, we're in for another.
Exactly right, Francis. And don't forget to check out the TYT postgame after the Young Turks every weekday on TYTnetwork.com/memberslive.
Hey, what's up? Aaron, what do you like better? The rabies or the rabies? Go.
This is the Gaslamp Killer. Piece to Absent presents 2016 shit. I like drums. I like big drums. Heavy, funky, deep drums. I'm not classically trained. I just started out as a record collector. I have synthesizers. I have all these modular synths and fun DJ tools that I use to make psychedelic sounds. It's not just the music. People want to leave their bodies in order to connect with the spirit world. And when you're making music, it's a similar kind of thing. You want to escape your day-to-day to leaving this shit behind and finding more of a deeper place to create from. That is the essence of Gaslamp Killer music.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Robert Searles and Brian Cantwell are members of the day. Members make this show possible, so help support independent media. Lucky for you, this month it's free, so it's mainly moral support. But yes, we would love to have you. TYTnetwork.com/join to become a member and put in the promo code FREETYT to get a free trial membership for a month. Hey, look, if you don't want it to be free, don't put in the promo code. God bless your heart. That would be amazing. So that you also get the post game, you get the whole show without any ads, and you can watch it anytime you want. Okay, Shiloh Plummer wrote in on YouTube Super Chat, which we're trying to take more comments from you guys on YouTube Super Chat. Anna is still one of my favorite, even when we don't agree. Hope you get feeling better.
Oh, thank you.
That's very nice.
That is very nice.
Okay, and then Kyla wrote in on Twitter, #TYT Live, strong opinions with Anna Kasparian. 12 out of 10 people will watch this show. #no really though. I like it, Kyla. And then Brian Newton writes in about the Shia LaBeouf thing. This is the ultimate do you know who I am? Mm-hmm. It is, man. That was an epic do you know who I am. Mm-hmm. Taria Peterside says, don't you just love it when liberal guys feel the need to tell black people to be grateful? Shia LaBeouf is such a fucking clown. And finally, Jeremy Varner says, history tells me Shia is going to get out regardless. The man's never been punished for anything he does. He has undiagnosed affluenza. Yeah, he got out on $7,000 bond. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. Yeah, for him, that's nothing. Two-tier justice system. Let's keep it real. Yeah, for a lot of people, that means you ain't gonna get out because you don't have $7,000. All right, what's next? All right. Texas has passed a slew of laws that make it incredibly difficult for women to have access to either contraceptives or abortion services. Now, especially women living in rural areas or rural parts of Texas, they have found it even more difficult to find a clinic that gives them the type of health care that they need or family planning that they need. And the whole reason why this was done was because conservatives in the state wanted to lower the number of abortions. In fact, then Governor Rick Perry said his goal was to ensure abortions are as rare as possible under existing law. Well, interestingly enough, Texas A&M University decided to do some research to see if these restrictive abortion policies have actually given us the results or given conservatives the results that they wanted. And the truth is, no, it's actually the opposite. So in the first 3 years after Texas Republicans slashed the family planning budget in 2011 and shut down more than 80 women's health clinics, the abortion rate among teenagers in the state rose 3% over what it would have been had the clinics remained open. So if you look specifically at poor rural parts of Texas, they're the most impacted by this. For instance, in Gregg County, where the local health center lost 60% of its family planning funding, the abortion rate increased by 191% between 2012 and 2014. Wow. So, but overall, on the abortion rate going up when you have less clinics, like Planned Parenthood, I have a phrase you might be familiar with on that. Of course, if you have less birth control, you'll have more pregnancies. If you have more pregnancies, you'll have more abortions. So everybody with 2 bits of sense knows this. So the question for conservatives is, which one do you want to focus on? Because if you want to kill birth control, it is an absolute guarantee that you will have more abortions. So you can't have both. So you can try, and then you'll have more abortions, and you get more angry about it, like, right? But the reality is, if you have more birth control, you'll have less abortions. So make up your mind which one do you want to go with. Right. Well, I think that this is indicative of what we usually see with conservatives on this particular issue, because they just flat out reject evidence, they reject data, right? And when you tell them, no, Planned Parenthood isn't an abortion factory. In fact, abortion is a tiny fraction of what they do. They actually offer all sorts of healthcare services and contraceptives. They just reject it. They just think that it's an abortion factory. So in their eyes, shutting these clinics down means less abortion. They just, again,
completely flat out deny any evidence that you throw at them, they'll probably read this and think to themselves, oh, yeah, university, liberal indoctrination. No, no. Okay, well, there's going to be more abortions, and if your goal is to, stop that from happening, this is a really terrible way of going about it.
It just drives me crazy that we live in a country that's supposed to be secular, where we're supposed to have separation of church and state, and every single day we got to do a story about one Sharia law or another, and how they want us to follow their laws. And then so some people online will complain, "Oh, you guys only talk about the Christian fundamentalists, but you don't talk about all the Muslim fundamentalists imposing their laws in America." Okay, look, we talk about Muslim fundamentalists in the Gulf and in many other areas that do terrible things to their citizens. Saudi Arabia, the list goes on and on, right? What happens in Afghanistan. But here, there are no Muslims in charge.
Mm-hmm.
There is no Sharia law that is going to get applied outside of Christian Sharia law. And yes, abortion is part of that. So the main reason that they're against abortion is because of their misinterpretation of the Bible. The Bible's pro-abortion, but they think it's anti-abortion. That's the only reason why we're having this stupid conversation. And even in the midst of that stupidity, they're like, okay, oh yeah, we're going to lower abortions. Oh, damn, we increased them. But okay, I got a great idea. Let's just ignore the facts. But we'll say we're against abortions even though we just made them go up.
They're not against abortions. You guys, they're against abortions, but they're not against abortions for the reasons that they say they are, right? It's all about playing into the base. It's about pandering to conservative voters. And more importantly, it's about controlling the lives of women and letting them know you can or can't do this. You don't get to determine the destiny of your own life. It's just pathetic. It's a bunch of insecure, middle-aged men running around crying and whining about women having choice. That's what it's really about. So let's move on.
Okay, no, we're almost done. So I'm going to add a random story that I always want to do because it's in this context. So Rick Perry is dumb in so many different ways. He's the former governor of Texas. When he was going to take over the Department of Energy, he thought it was to be an ambassador for the oil and gas companies. No, that's not what the Department of Energy does. Of course you wouldn't be representing companies. You represent American citizens, you schmuck. And Department of Energy mainly has to deal with the nuclear weapons, not oil and gas. He's so monumentally stupid. But on the other day, on Friday, he said, you got simple laws of supply and demand. And the more supply you have, the more demand. But that's not remotely true. Anybody who's taken one day of Econ 101 would know that that's not true. Laws of supply and demand dictate what price you'll have based on how much supply and how much demand. There's no such thing as more supply gets you more demand. Okay, these are the knuckleheads who run our country, and so it is deeply frustrating that they have any effect. Whether it's the effect he had on increased abortions because of decreased funding for Planned Parenthood in Texas, or what he's doing with energy, or his dumbass ideas about supply and demand as it relates to coal in that particular instance. Okay. Random story I wanted to squeeze in. We have two more stories for the online audience. That's tytnetwork.com/live. And for the Sirius satellite radio audience, we love you guys, and we will see you tomorrow. And tytnetwork.com/join to become a member. We'll be right back.
Appropriations Committee is attempting to allocate a whopping $1.6 billion to begin construction on Donald Trump's border wall. Now, to give you some more details on the allocation of this money, the $44.3 billion spending bill for fiscal year 2018 earmarks that $1.6 billion to begin construction of the wall, but the bill also appropriates $100 million to hire 500 more U.S. Border Patrol agents, $131 million for new border technology, and a $619 million increase for Immigration and Customs Enforcement above its 2017 appropriation. All right. In March, Trump asked Congress for $4.1 billion to build the wall. He didn't get that, right? And in terms of what the House Appropriations Committee is proposing, keep in mind that both the House and the Senate have to agree on it. And who knows? There are a number of Democrats, obviously, and even some Republicans who are skeptical about Donald Trump's wall. But it's just amazing because he's been in office for how long now? And don't you remember how many times while he was campaigning, he said that he was going to have Mexico pay for it? And when he was asked, how are they going to pay for it? He wouldn't answer. He would dodge the question. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at this.
The former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, he said today, and I'm quoting him, he said, "I'm not going to pay for that, quote, effing wall." So if you don't get an actual check from the Mexican government for $8 or $10 or $12 billion, whatever it will cost, how are you going to make them pay for the wall?
I will, and the wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
They're great people and great leaders, but they're going to pay for the wall. On day one, we will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall, and they're going to be happy about it. You know what? They're going to be happy about it.
How exactly are you going to get Mexico to pay for it?
Look, Mexico has not treated us well. Mexico treats us as though we are stupid people, which of course our leaders are.
Do you still want Mexico to pay for the wall? So that very last clip was actually from this month, July 7th, I believe. And he still thinks that Mexico is going to pay for the wall as he's asking Congress to allocate, billions of dollars to begin construction. He's just such a clown. And people who thought that he was going to have Mexico pay for it, really? He would never answer how. How are you going to make them pay for it?
So, ironically, though, he did wind up being proven right about one of the things he said there.
Yes.
Their leaders think our leaders are stupid. Well, mission accomplished. That turned out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, here's what's going to happen and what Trump will say about it.
Yeah.
They're going to build a tiny sliver of that wall. And then Fox News, Breitbart, etc. will keep taking video of just that sliver, right? And they'll keep showing it all over like they built the whole wall. Will it be beautiful and impenetrable?
It'll be physical. It'll be physical. It'll be impenetrable and physical.
No, by the way, the reason he said that is because afterwards, after he won, they're like, well, did we say physical wall? I mean, it could be a wall if we just put up a couple of drones, so we're guarding the border, and you can call that a wall even though it's not a wall. So is it going to be 10 foot higher? No. Did he ever have a plan to make Mexico pay for it? Of course he didn't, and you know he didn't have that plan. But so the great irony of Trump running as a populist is that he's actually a classic sleazy politician. Tell you whatever you want to hear. Trump's got it. We're going to do tax cuts for everybody, and we're going to balance the budget. We're going to give you healthcare coverage for everybody, and it's going to be less premiums, and it's going to give you more healthcare within your packages. But that's impossible. It doesn't matter. I got Christmas gifts for everybody, right? This is what they charge liberals of doing, promising everybody everything, right? In reality, that's what Trump 101. I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. And look, by the time you figure out that I'm a crooked liar, I'm already president. So that was Trump's strategy, and here it is. $1.6 billion would barely pay for the smallest percentage of that wall. You have to spend so much more to get it. And in some parts, everybody knows that it is not doable because of the geography, and the local conservatives and Republicans fight it tooth and nail. They're like, this is a terrible idea. But nonetheless, he keeps promising it because he's a sleazy politician.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to add that in terms of estimates on how much it would cost to complete the wall, it ranges between $10 billion and $70 billion. So let's say in a terrible world where he gets exactly what he wants, that's $10 to $70 billion of U.S. taxpayer money being wasted on what I consider to be a non-issue. Again, no one talks about it, no one cares. More undocumented Mexican immigrants are leaving the country than coming in. Coming in, leaving. Like, most of them are leaving. They're leaving, okay? Can we please focus on taking care of our own? And for people who think they're coming in here and they're taking your jobs, just please, for like 1 second, read about all these farmers that raised the wages, actually included benefits packages to lure in American workers, and they wouldn't do the work because it's hard work, right? Anyway.
Well, if they took your jobs, since more of them are leaving than coming in, they took them to Tijuana already. They're gone.
Pew Research. Please look at it. I'm not making it up. More undocumented immigrants are leaving than coming into the country, and we're wasting our time and our resources on this non-issue.
Yeah. So, look, what their effect on the wages, etc., is an interesting question, but is that the number one factor here in what's going on with wages? Not remotely close. It's not in the top 20. But I'll end on a fun Donald Trump tweet. It says, the dishonest media does not report that any money spent on building the Great Wall for sake of speed will be paid back by Mexico later.
Yeah.
He wrote that in January of 2017. So, Anna, there's your answer. It's going to be paid back later.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So, that'll mess you. Oh, my favorite part was, and the Mexicans will be really happy to do it because he can't help himself. He just has to add like gratuitous, preposterous lies.
They're going to be happy about it.
That's right. Anyway, the Justice Democrats are going to break the Republicans' backs and drink their spinal fluid, but the Republicans are going to be super happy about it. JustDemocrats.com/win. Super random cheese. Anyway, what's our situation?
We are about to have an awesome post-game show.
Okay.
And I am going to talk about someone that I caught secretly filming me yesterday.
Ooh, geez, and Lord mercy, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So it'll be a pretty juicy post-game show. You don't want to miss it.
So I'm starting to talk like the guys in Fargo because I'm catching up on the Fargo from this season. Ooh, that's something. We got to talk about that.
I don't watch that show, but I heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's super fun. You know what happens if you mash your potatoes? You get mashed potatoes. Anyways, TYTnetwork.com/join to hear the post game. Lucky for you today. Lucky you. It's free. Free for a month trial membership. Put in the promo code free TYT. Bye-bye.